Hello, goodness, and welcome back to the Gooner Pavilion. And listen, I'm smiling today because finally, after weeks of here we go, whispers and blurry airport photos, it's official. Martín Zubimendi is an Arsenal player. I've got to admit, this one has dragged on for what seemed like eternity, since he was announced that he was going to be an Arsenal player. But I've got a huge question that I want to ask, and maybe we can talk about this question together because you know how we do this. If the season started today, what on earth does Arsenal midfield look like? And that's what I want to be diving in today. Who stays, who goes, who starts, and in this midfield, is this midfield good enough to go toe to toe for the Premier League and Champions League next season? So let's get into it. First of all, let's look at people who have left. So we got Thomas Partey, whose contract's up, no new deal. And I think everyone is coming to terms with this one. His time at Arsenal has been overshadowed by injuries and, of course, all the stuff that are happening off the pitch. You also had Jorginho leave the club as well, which was confirmed at the end of last season. And that leaves the midfield looking surprisingly thin. And we've got to talk about some of the names who are technically still in Arsenal's midfield. So I was looking at the club's website today and I was still surprised to see some names there. But let's be real, those guys are probably not going to be in Arsenal for long, at least making it onto the pitch on the first day of the season. So let's talk about these names. So the first one, Reece Nelson. I like Reece Nelson. He's given Arsenal fans that incredible moment against Bournemouth when we thought that was it. That was the moment that was going to win us the title. But he's become more of a utility winger than a true midfield option. I don't think Mikel Arteta really trusts him there. And let's be honest, minutes are going to be scarce for him. So it might be time, sadly, for him to move on for regular football. And this one, it doesn't help that quelling, debate about Mikel Arteta and trusting young players. I had someone talking about that, and I don't know. It's a little bit outrageous to make such statements, especially with Saka, Miles Lewis Kelly, and Martinelli being very good. And I think if you're good enough, then you play. If you're not, then you might want to be playing your football somewhere else. And speaking about people that might be wanting to play football somewhere else, is also Fabio Vieira, still on Arsenal books. There's talent there, and he had a bit of a cameo. I remember one game. I don't know. I think I want to say Crystal Palace, but I might be wrong. Where he came in, and that was probably the best sub appearance that I have seen on a player. Literally, he was pulling strings, creating chances, all sorts of things in that game. I'll try and find the game, but and that was his probably brightest moment for Arsenal. I know some of you guys might remember that game and put that in the comments section below. So, but I don't think Arteta fully trusts him. I think he gets bullied in some games, and especially the ones that matter. And it feels like another loan, for me, or even a sale if someone comes up with some decent money for him. And then this one, who I think has got absolutely no chance of playing in Arsenal, and that's Albert Sambi Lokonga. I was still shocked that he was an Arsenal player. For some reason, I thought he was transferred permanently, but he's still in Arsenal books. I think he's got qualities, but I don't think Mikel Arteta trusts him anymore. I don't think he's trust him enough to get serious minutes. I think he went on loan last season as well. And the loan hasn't really been pulling up threes. He's not going on loan and winning best player in that division or best player of the team. And those are the sort of things that make people notice you. So it's hard to see him breaking through. He needs football and probably somewhere else. So if we're being honest, those three might not factor into Arsenal first team if Arsenal are serious about challenging for trophies. So who's actually in the Arsenal midfield right now? So let's talk about those who will be in the mix of if the season started tomorrow. So of course you've got Captain Fantastic, Mikkel, Martin Odegaard. He's the captain. He's the creative engine, one of the best in Europe at finding pockets of space, dictating tempo, bringing goals and assists and leadership. So he's a starter in that midfield. And then you've got Declan Rice, Yanko. He can play single pivot or a double pivot. He can be a box-to-box midfielder. I think he's been probably the best in Arsenal when he plays in that number 8 position, drifting into the attack, being critical in corners. He takes one of the best corners I've ever seen from anyone in the league. And he started adding goals to his game, which I think can only just improve him as a player. I expect big things from him in the season coming, and I think he does expect big things for him as well for himself. And then you've got Martin Zubimendi, new boy, right? A pure pivot, calm under pressure, keeps the ball ticking, reads danger beautifully. People have talked about the stats about percentage of balls going forward in the pitch. I think it's a big upgrade if we're talking about protecting the back line. And it story circles that Arsenal really went in for this deal as far back as last summer. And there was a sort of an agreement at the time that we couldn't sign both Mikel Merino and Zubimendi at the same time, and one of them was going to come and the other was going to wait for a year. I don't know how those conversations go. I really would love to be in those conversations and see and what that means. So definitely, he will get compensated, I'm sure, in terms of signing bonuses and all of that for waiting a year, if that is true. And then you've got Mikel Merino. Here's the wild card. Merino's been playing up front at times last season and scoring goals, but fundamentally, he's the midfielder. And I think that experience playing up front would would do him a world of good and will bring goals into the Arsenal team. Good in the air, he's physically strong and can drive into the box. And that's it, guys. That's Arsenal first team options in terms of midfield right now. So, I mean, let's piece all of this together. So I was thinking about this. And so you've got Zubrimendi. He's your deepest midfielder. He's a guy who's going to sit in front of the back four, breaks up play and distributes. So you think of Rodri, but Spanish and slightly less physically dominant, right? And then you've got Rice, who would potentially have two roles within the team. So he can either partner Zubimendi as a double pivot in big games, adding extra skill, or he plays slightly ahead, acting as that physical box-to-box presence. Odegaard is obviously the advanced 8 or 10. He's not dropping back to defend the 6-yard box. He's the creative spark, and I think you need a little bit more in a creative spark as well. So he's there to create and score. And then Merino will give Arteta flexibility. He could play that left edge, especially if we want a more physical presence. He could drop deeper if we're protecting a lead, even feeling as a false nine, as we've seen him do if injury strike up front. And that's the beauty and also the challenge because right now we are light on numbers. So here's the £1 million question. Is this midfield enough to last the season, competing to the Premier League and the Champions League? I'm not convinced yet. Odegaard brings creativity and goals. He's a lock. Rice brings defensive solidity and the ability to drive forward. Zubimendi gives us a proper pivot, someone who can help us control games and protect our back line, but we're thin. And if anything has taught us anything from last season, is that injuries happen, suspensions happen, and you can't go into a 60-game season with just 4 reliable midfielders. So what do Arsenal do? I think that's why it makes sense that Arsenal are still heavily linked with Nørgaard from Brentford, who would just slot in as a midfielder and provide cover there and can play some games and give other people a rest. He's not a superstar, but he's steady. A player Arteta could trust, could rotate him in. He'll be like Jorginho 2.0, right? maybe with slightly more mobility, and that's variable. And he's probably got a decent header as well, so he could feature and make some noise in the box when it comes to corners and things like that. But that means that Arsenal is still light. So perhaps this might not be the end of Arsenal dipping into that transfer window, because I would be very, very shocked if that's all it is. To have five reliable midfielders that you can call on to, I think that's a stretch and not something that Mikel Arteta would be doing. So it makes sense. I'm hearing all these rumors about Noni Madueke. Maybe Mikel Arteta sees him maybe not just as a Saka replacement, but as someone that can also play in the midfield. But I just don't like the banter, right, from Chelsea fans. I really don't like the fact that we are always shopping in Chelsea. It almost feels like someone does the scouting and then we just go and pick up what they think they couldn't use. And look, this Chelsea project that we've got running side by side, almost like a side gig in Chelsea, has not really been fruitful. Like, look at all the players that are coming from Chelsea. They've been mixed. They've been mixed. We go as far back as William Gallas coming in from Chelsea. There's been lots. I mean, there's a player that's just flashing in my head now, but his name is refusing to come to the tip of my tongue as well. Was another player that we got from Chelsea. And then we got David Luiz. We don't know about that one. Willian. The more said of that, the less said of that, the better. And then, of course, we have Peter Cech that came in, and I think that he was an agent. He came in to come and disrupt Arsenal and make sure Arsenal didn't win a title, because the one final that we've been to in Europe, which we were really close to winning, I think he threw that final away to Chelsea, but people are going to debate that. So he came, and then, of course, we had the recent Raheem Sterling that was also an absolute disaster. So now we got Kepa. I don't really know if I can take another more of a Chelsea player. So sorry, I went into a little bit of a rant there, but no, I don't want another Chelsea player, and I don't want Noni Madueke, but I can see why Arsenal might be interested in that sort of player. And if the season started tomorrow, guys, my midfield would look like this. I'll have Zubimendi as a 6, Rice slightly ahead of him, helping transition defense into attack because he can move with the ball, run with the ball. And then Odegaard as that advanced creator, drifting into pockets, linking with Saka on the front line. And I'll keep Merino as a utility piece, either left 8, box to box, or a false 9, depending on the game. But we still need more, because if Rice and Odegaard miss time, suddenly the entire midfield balance collapses. And it feels like that midfield with that combination, it cannot play every single game. So you're gonna need options. You're gonna need people that you can rest and play, or else we will not make it to the end of the season and get what we ultimately want, which is the Premier League title, or at least the Champions League gold medal. So for me, the midfield rebuild isn't quite finished yet, but Zubimendi is a huge step forward, when it comes to what Arsenal could potentially do. And that's it, guys. That's my midfield state of play as of July. Now, if things change, we'll come back and look at it. But who's your midfield 3, guys? This is where you come in. Who's your midfield 3 if the season kicked off today? Are you as excited about Zubimendi as I am? Do we need one more signing, or possibly 2? So drop your comments and your thoughts in the comment section as well. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and share this video with a lot of people, because trust me, the Gooner Pavilion is going to be busy all summer, and we'll be giving you all the inside stories, and more importantly, some intelligent conversation about Arsenal that is not just about shouting, it's not about screaming, but just as calm and possibly as we can, look at what Arsenal is doing, react, reflect, and project what potentially Arsenal will be doing in the 25-26 season. Until the next one, guys, you take care of yourself and have a great week ahead.